We're here today with the Nissan Qashqai ST Plus. Now in 2024, this car is an incredibly stylish small SUV alternative to some of the other cars that are in the segment, like the Corolla Cross, the Renault Captur, or similar cars, maybe even like the Mazda CX-3 as well. So let's have a look through at what you get with this particular car, why it does a lot of things really good, and why it's done a couple of small yet big things really wrong for the price that they're asking. So let's come and have a look at the car. So starting at the front, the styling of the grille, the headlight design, the daytime running lights just makes this car stand out and look incredibly well designed and aggressive. And that's the one thing I can definitely say that Nissan is doing an absolute spectacular job at the moment, is designing some incredibly good looking small to medium sized SUVs in the market. So once again, this definitely wins from a styling point on the outside. Now at the front, you're gonna get a camera just here, as well as two cameras on the wing mirrors and one on the back, giving it a 360-degree bird's eye camera image. So when you're parking, when you're trying to navigate car parks, you're gonna have plenty of visibility to make sure that you protect the beautiful design of the car itself and keep things looking absolutely schmick. So hats off there with Nissan as well. Engine-wise, now this is a 1.3 litre turbocharged petrol engine. It's actually not too bad on fuel. So Nissan quotes a figure that is closer to 5 to 6 litres per 100 Ks. Around town, I've been averaging between 8 and 9. It's not that bad. It's a fresh engine, but also Brisbane is predominantly 50 and 60 K zones. So it's quite hard to get it into its economical mode. On the highway, when we have tested it out, the fuel consumption does drop down. So that's incredibly impressive for a car that isn't a hybrid. And the e-Power version has now been released. We will be testing that in the near future, and that is promised to have even better fuel consumption as well. So another good thing by Nissan with that there. Now, one thing to mention with the 1.3 litre turbocharged engine. So it's 110 kilowatts and 250 Newton meters of torque, and it's paired to a Nissan CVT transmission. Now, Nissan with CVT transmissions in the past have either given you a really nice drive or a terrible drive. And this car here gives you an amazing drive. So it's just absolutely perky when it comes to, a little bit of an accelerator input and you're up and going. It's really responsive. It's really peaky in terms of the way that it wants to accelerate, meaning that you're going to have absolutely fun around town. It's not going to be laggy. There is absolutely no lag in your throttle response going in and the car doing what you're trying to get it to do, meaning overtaking or just pulling out in traffic is going to be incredibly good in this car and just incredibly fun. But let's get round to a couple of things that have let the car down a little bit. So as you can see here, this car here in the ST Plus is paired with 18-inch alloy wheels. Now the top model gets 19-inch, the base model gets 17-inch alloy wheels. The 17-inch alloy wheel design in the ST is a little bit average. I personally wouldn't want to have those on my car, and I genuinely actually do like the 18-inch wheels. The one in between compromise with this is because the suspension in the Nissan Qashqai currently is a little bit too firm for Australian roads in pursuit of a more sporty and dynamic handling feel. The 18-inch wheels are a nice compromise in between, but you can still feel that roughness around certain bumps, potholes, going over speed bumps. It definitely doesn't absorb those items quite as good as some of its competitors, including the BYD Atto 3 or the Corolla Cross from Toyota. So a little bit of additional work on the suspension would be a very big win for Nissan, because this car here is actually really spectacular and worth your attention and time if you're considering a small SUV. You get some body cladding around the wheel arch just to make sure that you're not getting stone chips or loose things coming up and scratching the side here. And you get a little bit of Qashqai detail around the back of the headlight just before you get to the main quarter here. And I think that's quite a nice little touch. It gives it a little bit of a more premium feel. So really good job there from the Nissan side of things. Indicator on the side of the mirror gives you plenty of visibility to those that are watching you as you're trying to indicate and maneuver around the roads. Plus those side cameras I mentioned to you are located just down here. So they make parking easier by giving you a full 360 image, but also just the side parking area as well. Approaching the car, you're gonna have smart entry and smart exit. This button here will lock and unlock the car, allowing really easy access. And one of the other impressive things with the car at the moment, they're a 90-degree opening door for the rear. So you're gonna have an incredible amount of access to getting in and out of the car, particularly if you've got young children or you just maybe a little bit more restricted in movement from injuries or things like that. It's just gonna give you a tremendous amount of opportunity to get in and out really easily. Along to the back of the car, you're gonna have a gorgeous design with those rear tail lights. The brakes and indicators are all in the one. You got the reflectors down the bottom, but the great thing is you got your indicators and your reverse lights at the top here, so people can actually see them, unlike a lot of its competitors that are putting the indicators at the bottom, making them incredibly hard to see when you're trying to actually navigate around car parks or traffic. Rear parking sensors are standard on the car, and they will give you plenty of notice if you're going to reverse into something, so just make sure you have them turned on and you'll get that beeping. And you have a manual opening tailgate in the ST Plus. Other models will differ as well, but a very generous rear cargo area as well. So with this rear blind, you can pull this out. There's a 12-volt outlet in here in case you wanted to use any fridges or charge any devices while you're out and about. And in terms of actually fitting in the back here, it's actually pretty generous. So you're gonna have a really decent amount of space. You wouldn't want to be in here for too long, but it gives you an idea of being able to fit a large suitcase, a stroller, maybe a moderate sized pram, other kind of baggage and sporting equipment that you might have with your family or kids definitely will fit in here. And the child restraint points are directly behind the back seats, so you're not gonna end up with straps coming into the load area. So you actually have a full load area available for use. So that's really cool there. For those of you planning to go on those long road trips, one of the things you're going to love with the Nissan Qashqai is that it does come with a temporary tire, so you still have a spare tire instead of having a tire inflation kit. All right, so moving into the inside, let's start with the driver's area. That's where you're going to spend most of your time. Then we'll go into the side for the passenger area and the infotainment, and we'll go into the back. You're going to have soft touch materials at the top, on the side of the doors, in the armrests, and a plastic material down the bottom that's hard wearing but doesn't feel overly cheap. So a really good job by Nissan there. The perplexing thing, however, from my side of things that pays attention to very small details is the little switches for the windows. They feel incredibly cheap. And given that that's something that I'm going to touch all the time if I was to be the full-time owner of this car, it's a little bit disappointing that they didn't put a little bit more thought into something that's constantly going to be something you interact with. So that's just my only criticism out of this whole area here, because the rest of it is actually really well designed in terms of making you feel like you've bought a more premium car than the car that you're actually in. So good job there. Cup holder sizing, fits bottles, fits possibly 2 of these 600ml bottles, wallet, whatever else you want to store. Plenty of space in there. And let's have a look at the inside, where comfort is actually pretty good. The one thing I really like with the Qashqai ST Plus is that they've remained a cloth seat. And the reason I like that is in the Australian summer, particularly here in Queensland, the humidity and just the heat during summer means that a lot of the fake leather and vinyl seats that are getting put into lower entry-level model cars now just don't allow you to breathe all that well. So you end up with wet patches on your back or just a real uncomfortable feeling after a bit of a long drive on a hot day. The cloth seat just allows for a bit better breathability, which is really, really handy on those longer drives. Just makes it a little bit more comfortable. Down here, you're gonna have your instrumentation dimming controls, your manual leveling for your headlights, your lane keep and departure alert notifications. And because this car has an automatic stop-start when you come to the lights for fuel consumption reduction, you can turn that off if you don't like the auto off feature every time you come to a stop. Steering wheel, really impressive in that it is reach and height adjustable, so you will be able to find the perfect position for your body and your arms. However, the steering wheel for a model that is not a base model, given that this is the second from the bottom, is plastic. And as someone that's jumped in a lot of cars recently, it just feels cheap. Again, it's the thing that you're looking at and holding constantly. You're constantly interacting with it. And I feel if they just spent a little bit more, particularly for a car that's in early 40s territory, it would have just felt a little bit more premium and just, I don't know, just it's that one small thing that's missing out of overall has been done really, really well. So take it as just an opinion. It's not a criticism of the overall car, because I actually really like this car. Now, the other thing to note with this steering wheel setup, it has flappy paddle gear shifters behind here. So if you want to manually play around with the gears, you can. It's just directly behind here. Indicators have your auto headlights on the stalk as well, and they're on the right hand side. Wipers are on the left with rain sensing wipers or automatic wipers. So you've got that there nice and covered. Now come around to the middle and we'll show you the rest of the infotainment area and the cup holders. All right, now that you've heard me talk about all the things that I did and didn't like, the driver's position, all the things that Nissan's done incredibly well in this car. So first off, beautiful big digital display up here. This has Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. It's relatively responsive, and the one thing to note is that Apple CarPlay is available for wireless and wired connections. However, Android Auto will require your cable, as it is a wired connection only. So just bear that in mind up the top here. The other cool thing is the 360 camera and camera displays are all crisp and clear directly up here. Push button start to get the car to turn on and off is located down here, and your 12-volt outlet is just on this side down here. Little storage compartment here for your phone, nice little resting nook. The USB-C and USB outlets, however, are located just in here, the center console. So you will have one USB-C and one USB-A output just in here. Cup holders, really deep and really well sized, so they will hold your bottle relatively well. You get two of them for the driver there, plus don't forget that the front passenger and driver also get the door pocket holders. So you should be able to, in theory, have 3 water bottles of 600 ml size, or one 1.2 litre or 1.25 litre bottle in the door there, and a 600 ml bottle just here if you're doing a long road trip with this car. Build quality, everything's pretty solid, which surprises me a little bit with a car at this price point, because a lot of its competitors do make a little bit of creaking, a little bit of noise from a lot of the paneling. So time will tell as to how that settles in with the Qashqai. However, given it is an important model for the Nissan brand, it's likely to say that this is the build quality that you're going to live with as well with this car in 3 to 5 years. Drive mode down here allows you to put in a more economical mode, a sportier mode, or a standard mode. At the flick of a switch, it will just take you through all of that. Gear selector, because it is a CVT transmission, it's basically a freewheeling and dead-centered gear selector. So you just need to push the button on the side, that will get it into drive or into reverse, and you push the top button here for park, and that gets it into park. Electronic handbrake just here, and auto hold is an incredibly handy feature that when you come to a set of lights, if you put your foot on the brake and you've come to a complete stop, you can then take your foot off the brake, providing the auto hold has engaged, and it will just hold your brake there without you having to have your leg sitting there. Soft touch materials on the dash. Aircon vents are really well positioned, so you will get air exactly where you want it to go. And the glove box is a really sizable glove box as well in there. The 2 sun visors both come with mirrors, so if you want to have a little bit of a checkup on how your eyes, how your face, whatever is looking, you're definitely going to be able to do that. And you have a sunglass holder or glasses holder compartment just at the top here as well. So really nice, comfortable place to be if you're a driver in the Nissan Qashqai, despite the steering wheel feeling a little bit cheap. But let's check out the back. Now the rear of the Nissan Qashqai is actually really well laid out when it comes to leg room. So as you can see, my driver's seat was in the position where I would normally be sitting. This one for the passenger is in the exact same position, just to give us a fair measurement of how much space there is. And I have probably about a hand width of space between the back of the seat and my knees. So be quite a comfortable position. You do have a bit of space underneath the seat, so if you have a little bit longer legs and you need to stretch out, you're definitely going to have that. But one thing I will say is the back seat is a little bit flat. It would have been nicer if it was a little bit more angled or it had a bit more padding. Because I think on longer drives, if you do have longer legs, you are going to find that you're going to definitely feel it a little bit more. USB-C charger down here and USB-A, both fast chargers, plus air conditioning vents for the two vents in the back. Will give you plenty of aircon on hot summer's days. And you have ISOFIX outlets just on the bottom of each of these seats. meaning that if you have kids that you need to chuck into the car, their child seats are ISOFIX compatible and can fit directly into there. And as previously mentioned, the back of the seat has the child tether point, so you're going to be able to strap that directly behind the seat as well. One other cool thing, cup holder and armrest. So some of the lower level models in some cars just don't get that and just get a standard back seat. So it's always nice having a back seat that does have one of those so that you can put your bottles in there, your Macca's cups, whatever you're going to do, or even just have an armrest. And coming over to the doors, let me show you the depth of the actual cup holders. You're gonna have plenty of space down here for your cups and your bottles, very deep and very generous in spacing. Again, soft touch materials on the armrest there, soft touch materials here. The top does go to the same plastic that you get down the bottom here for the back doors. And that soft touch padding goes the whole way around here. So you do still feel quite nice in the back. So really well laid out for this particular car. And more importantly, it's a 60-40 rear split, which means you have plenty of space once those seats go down in case you need to go camping or you need to carry some oversized items as well. There you have it, guys. That's what I think of the Nissan Qashqai ST Plus. They're my impressions at a first glance. The drive has been incredibly engaging, like surprisingly for an SUV and a small SUV. It was zippy around town, it had plenty of power and was plenty responsive for what you want it to be for a car that's going to spend most of its time around town. And on the highway, it gets up in boogies and it still is quite economical as well. So make sure you check out the Nissan Qashqai ST Plus if you are checking small SUVs in the market. As always, leave a note in the comment, let us know what you think of the Nissan Qashqai ST Plus, and let us know what other cars you want us to review this year in 2024. Until next time, guys, thank you so much for watching. Like and subscribe. That supports us greatly. Thanks, guys.